Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Modern Man in Search of High Scores. This is Volume 3. I'm Lawrence Adams. Welcome to the Midlife Arcade, and we are the Pinball Underground.
Round 1.
Today we're going to be talking about how limited editions are now being built first at Stern. In other words, before the pros, before the premiums, you get the limited editions fresh off the line. Those people get them first. They paid more. And we're going to talk about it because that raises some interesting questions. And beyond that, has resulted in some interesting outcomes.
Round 2.
Also up on the program, it is a mad world of pinball. I want to cover some of the things that have been said over the past 2 months by members of the pinball community with much better podcasts than me. And I'm not going to name drop. There's no point. I don't know any of these people personally. I've interacted with some of them on social media from time to time. But this is why we're the Pinball Underground, man. We are underground. We don't know anybody. We don't need to know anybody, but we're always there. We're always listening, and we're always playing games.
Round 3.
And lastly, I want to talk about this year's new games coming out, what it means for the economy, what it means for my economy, i.e. my wallet, and what it means for the Midlife Arcade, what's likely coming in, what might be going out. How are we going to handle this absolute deluge of pinball? Let's check it out. So first, limited editions being built first at Stern. I just want to preface this by saying I am not a limited edition buyer, and I'm going to go ahead and actually put my foot down. I will never be a limited edition buyer. With the one caveat of unless something really amazing happens that actually changes the entire version of the game that you're playing, and then that makes that game version so much better. But these games are made to be played. I'm not shitting on people that buy limited edition pinballs, by the way. Pinball machines, by the way. I think that if that is your jam, if you like to collect the most beautiful version of something, have it in your house, not play it as much as you probably could, and then try and resell it for as much or a little bit more than you got out of it, I think great, man. If you have money, more power to you. I'm not here to gatekeep or make sure, or to try and tell you how to spend your money. But me personally, I will never buy a limited edition anything. I don't see what the point is. I buy these games to play. I buy these games to play and get better at, and I buy them based on which edition I think is actually going to be the most fun. Case in point, right now I have Ghostbusters Pro that I've been singing from the rooftops lately, and the Pro is the version of that game that I want. In my opinion, it is the best of the two editions. Now, when it comes to a game like Jaws, I had Jaws Pro for a while, a year actually, and I was singing its praises nonstop from when I got it, and even saying that I liked it more than I liked the premium. Then time went on, and my mind was changed, mainly because the Pro has some actual benefits in pretty much all walks of pinball, in pretty much every game out there, in that it really does not slow the game down nearly as much, and the shots remain challenging and fast, and to call it a Pro is appropriate because, one, on location, it will drain faster, more likely, and make more money for the location, and second to that, in tournaments, you have much less soft game, I suppose you could call it, for lack of a better term, to help seasoned pros keep just going and going and going. It also, just in general, slows things down more for even ludicrously good players. What's interesting to me, though, is that the limited editions, and this has been said before, so don't think that I'm at least in the initial part of this take, don't think that I'm trying to claim ownership of this point. But when limited editions are first off the line, it really does mean that the people who paid the most for their pinball machines are going to be essentially the beta testers for the pinball machines in the wild. And I know, you can make the counter argument that no, Stern beta tests the hell out of everything that they make. And, I know that's true. I've actually even seen the videos and even talked to some people that are in the know, where it's like if they're going to make a mech, like for example, they even had that video on the shark fin mech, and showed you what they do, where they do a mock-up and a build, and then they just shoot balls at it all day long to make sure that it's not going to break based on, more than normal amounts of play. So yes, technically that is beta testing, but anyone who makes any game or anything that ends up for public consumption will tell you the moment you put whatever it is you've built, whether it's a board game, whether it's an arcade game, whether it's a pinball machine, the moment you put it out in the wild, people are going to do things with it that you did not anticipate. And that doesn't even include like the crazy mods that people put into their pinball machines that no one ever saw coming. What I'm talking about is just through the simple action of the game, they're going to make certain shots and behave in certain ways that stress your machine in a way that, was not planned by the company, even though they probably planned for just about everything else. What's weird to me, though, also, is that we see that when limited edition pinball machines roll off the line at Stern, they are the first to report back if there are issues with the pin. Case in point being X-Men. X-Men's a fantastic shooter. I would love to see the code come along. Nothing you haven't heard already. But, the shooter lane issue was widely publicized. People needed to get kits from Stern to fix that. And if you are a first run LE owner, that's going to be you. You're the one who had to go back and put new parts into your pinball machine just to make it work the way that it was supposed to off the line. Taking a step back, what's really, really interesting about all of this is that any other collectible would benefit from this. Baseball cards, Pokemon cards, Beanie Babies, Troll dolls. Sorry, I'm dating myself. But they all see huge value increases when they have defects, right? Like the troll doll with the missing toe, or the Beanie Baby with the eye sewn to the back of its head. When those things were popular, if you had that thing, it was like, oh my god, astronomically more valuable because it was done incorrectly. That's really crazy, right? Because in pinball, that's not the case. You will be absolutely pissed if you get your new pinball machine and it stops working due to a catastrophic issue that requires additional steps from the company, additional hardware, and additional actual elbow grease on your part, the man, woman, child, who paid the largest amount of money that you can, not only to have the best quote unquote version, but also because you want it faster than everybody else. Making the premium payment buyers the beta testers is a universally bad idea. The only benefit being Stern gets the big money faster. And I can actually see that as a relevant argument because that's probably a big part of their business model right now. Get that big money fast, close out whatever the overhead was you needed, make the nut, and then move on to everything else. Logic dictates that over time this will die off. People get smart. Eventually, people will get smart. But, who knows? People don't spend money logically. I would, to a certain extent, argue LE buyers less so. They see the thing. They want the thing. They want the quote-unquote best version of the thing. And they will be apologetic for the company, for the game, for the crew, for their wallets, to their wives, to their husbands, whatever it takes to make that LE sound better and better, so that they can make themselves think that it's worth buying. Okay, it is a mad world out there. I just want to cover some of the things about new pins that I've heard over the past 2 months. Sometimes I listen to podcasts, and I'm not even talking about the podcasts with the shock jocks. I'm talking about our good friends that we listen to, every week or every month, that seem to have, been around long enough that their opinions are are taken as somewhat rote. But here's some of the stuff. So we have all these awesome new pinball machines that came out, right? We had Dune and Evil Dead and King Kong. We know Harry Potter is on the way. And of course, there are games that have been out for a while. Things like Jaws, Godzilla. So here's what I've been hearing. Dune. Dune is a bad theme. Nobody has read the books. Nobody has watched the old movie, though they know it's bad. They've heard that. Some have seen the first new gen films, but they didn't like it enough to get through the second. Not all of them have actually seen them. They think the game looks ugly and brown. They think the Sandworm 5-in-1 toy, which has a magnet, raised magnet with a dropping center, raised magnet which eats the ball, raised magnet with wire form drop off, and it also is a bash toy. They think it's unimpressive. I have heard unimpressive as the word used to describe this absolutely phenomenal looking toy for Dune. They're not impressed. And furthermore, they think Labyrinth was unimpressive and bad as well. Okay. And then, going on to Evil Dead.
Groovy.
Evil Dead just wasn't going to work because it's a bad theme. Not too long ago, they were saying that Spooky will never sell out of the 800 they're making. It's not popular enough, and there's no nostalgia for the title, and it's too niche to make any money. Well, as a lifelong, Evil Dead fan, I can go ahead and say fuck you. It did very, very well. Congratulations, Spooky. I just got to figure out how to get my hands on one.
This is my boomstick!
The damn thing jumped to number 1 on Pinside for quite a while, and that is going to make aftermarket prices a bitch. But never mind. Moving on. King Kong. This is the other thing. It's crazy to me. So none of them have seen any of the King Kong movies. They don't, and they haven't read the book, which of course that's less surprising. But just like staying true to form, none of our good podcast friends out there in the media have seen any of the King Kong movies and think that the movies don't matter whatsoever when you're talking about that table. They say the art is bad, which, that does seem to be a theme going around right now, but pretty entertaining to me, since it's essentially what you got with Godzilla and various other pins out there that people have been screaming for years that the art is so awesome. It's just bad now. They also think that Kong, the monkey that smashes the subway car, hits the glass, and moves in theatrical and threatening ways, they say it isn't interactive enough, or, once again, it isn't impressive. I don't know what we have to do for you people. One thing I would actually recommend, not that any of the podcast people that I'm talking about would be listening to the show, what I'm going to recommend is that you take a weekend off of pinball and just go watch all of the movies related to all of the pins that you have, that you've probably bought, even though you've never watched the movie. You know that so much that goes into these games is based on the property. It's not just that they drew pictures based on the movie. Like, everything is from the movie. There are scenes from the movie. The call-outs are from the movie. All of it's designed to make you feel like you are part and parcel and a part of the world in the movie. So, when you're just like, I can't believe it that nobody's ever heard of Evil Dead. Fine, I can maybe buy that, maybe, but not really. Dune, not impressive. When Jaws came out, nobody had seen it, or if they'd seen it, it wasn't really part of their generation. It just cracks me the hell up. Go watch it. It's 90 minutes long. I'll time you. Go ahead, go watch it. Harry Potter, by the way. Moving on to Harry Potter.
Harry Potter is dead!
I've actually heard... Now, this is... I should say, this is not common sentiment. But there are a few who have said that the theme isn't good and nobody is interested in it. They've also said it's not going to sell well because people don't like the theme. Of course, nobody has watched the movies or seen the books, or watched the movies or read the books. Or if they have, it's only part of them. And if they have seen that part of them, it's only because they have young children. I've even heard Godzilla and Jaws just be called bad games. So I bring all this up not to throw shade. I just honestly want to ask, what the fuck?
Fatality.
Like, this is the hobby, right? So, like, do you guys just want music pins? Is that it? Because most of the time, that's not, like, you shit on the music pins, too. We've just had a run of movie pins lately, so this is kind of what we're getting. But I just don't know. I don't know. I suppose you could make the argument that these people have just been out playing pinball for so long, and they've never stopped. They've never stopped to even watch the films that sort of shape the lives of people. And make and create the nostalgia later on. They've never watched any of that because they are playing pinball so much. You could make that argument. It's bullshit, but you could. My friends, my fellow podcasters who will have a much bigger following than me, who will probably never hear this. If that's you, just stop. Go watch the movie. It's not going to hurt you. And it certainly will at least make you better informed to provide an opinion on a game. It just drives me insane, guys. Makes me want to pull off the road. Makes me want to unsubscribe. But I don't, because, we're all friends here. So, playing all of the new games from this year is about a $45,000 buy-in for me. Like, if I want to play them in my arcade, if I want to have them in my arcade to play them. I can probably play Kong Premium in some arcades around me. I can definitely play Kong Pro in some arcades around me. So if I'm happy playing Kong on location, that takes it down to $35,000 if I want to buy in and get all the great games that are coming out right now. Harry Potter is actually my least anticipated pin. Now, I have seen the movies and I have read the books, but I really do, require nostalgia to get sort of my blood pumping as far as the theme goes. And I was too old. Like, I was literally watching it with my younger kids. So I do get that sentiment. But, as I just said, I watched all the movies and I read all the books. And I'm not saying it's going to be bad. It is actually incredibly exciting. And again, I do want it. But it's lowest on the list is all I'm saying. So it's almost, I would say Harry Potter's probably going to be somewhere as well. People are just too high on it. So if I'm happy to play Harry Potter on location, or rather look at it from the back of a line and play it next year in whatever beat up tournament ass ready state it's left in, then we reduce my overall expense to buy new games this year to $22,000. So Dune and Evil Dead are probably the must-own pins out of that collection for me. Evil Dead certainly is. I'm going to have to own that at some point. It is such a huge franchise for me. They just caught me with my pants down as far as the release when they brought it out, my pinball purchasing habits. Like I said briefly before in the beginning of the episode, Evil Dead jumped to number 1 on Pinside 100. That is, until the Godzilla owners on Pinside got in there and fixed the problem. God, you Godzilla owners on Pinside are fucking nuts. I just have to say that, but whatever. But even that short time that it was up there, that had to inflate the value of Evil Dead at least over the next 2 years. So Evil Dead is now at minimum $10,000 as a wish list item for me somewhere over the next 2 years. I was initially hoping 6 months to a year. I was really hoping that it would at least, it would just keep the value that it had when it came out and that there wouldn't be any additional money tacked on. But I just don't see that happening with how popular it is when people go to sell it. Jaws also jumped to number one on Pinside very briefly. It was about as long as Harry Potter, or I mean, sorry, as Evil Dead did. But the thing is, they're still making Jaws, so that doesn't have any effect on their cost. But Spooky just up and quit on me, man. They just were like, "Oh, we're making the 800, we're out," and I get that. I can respect it. They wanted to make sure they could meet the nut when they had all these pinheads on podcasts telling them it's too niche theme, no one cares, all the games are bad, don't do it. So really, how brave of them to even come out with the damn thing, let alone sell all 800 and make it such a wicked fucking game. But moving on to Dune. Dune has quickly become one of my favorite franchises as an adult. The new movies really did help kick that off for me. I did read the books when I was younger. But the truth is that like my initial getting back into the franchise, the movies helped, but it wasn't because of the movies, and it wasn't even because of the books when I read them all those times ago. It was actually the Dune board game, Dune Imperium. I know I've talked about this on here before, but Dune is such a good game, made better by understanding the source material, of course, and it has turned me into a dyed-in-the-wool Dune fanatic. And the pinball machine looks so fantastic that if you liked Dune and pinball half as much as I do, this would be at the top of most folks' list. So I want to take a second here to talk about something from my last podcast talking about Bond. High score tournament-based strategy gameplay versus immersive world under glass rules-based gameplay. What I really was trying to get to the core of in talking about what made me end up liking Bond was that there's probably more, but there are really at the crux of it, there are two different ways to enjoy a game, right? When I first started actually trying to improve at playing pinball, I don't believe I was smart to what it was I was actually trying to get good at. I just wanted to get good, get better. And ultimately, it was for a couple of reasons. One was to put up high scores on local machines and leaderboards, and ultimately, yes, in tournament play. But as far as that goes, in the beginning, I was convinced most of that was beyond my reach. Now, second was to see more of the games I was playing. You can't see the final wizard mode in a game if you're not skilled enough to play through that game. That's pretty basic stuff, right? But you want to with some of these games, especially some of your favorites. And it wasn't until fairly recently that I learned how to judge my enjoyability of a game and what it brings to the table. Some games are amazing for tournament play, and you'll usually see them in many tournaments. These are the Trons, Addams Families, Iron Mans, Lethal Weapon 3s, etc. Some games are amazing for home play and a desire to see more of the game, like I was talking about. These are the Jaws, Tales of the Arabian Nights, The Shadow, Labyrinth, Rick and Morty, Dungeons and Dragons. This is probably going to go down as quintessentially the game in this category eventually. And there are some games that walk a line in between. I would put Bond in this category, Pulp Fiction 2, also Iron Maiden. And what I've learned in my time playing and collecting pinball is that I tend to greatly enjoy games with strategic depth, where I'm constantly desiring to see more of the game. These are the games I want in my collection. And this isn't wholly without objective merit. Games like that are never going to be fully enjoyed on location due to complexity, time, and investment. But I have also learned that as you start a collection of these games, you do need to break it up with some games that don't require such a time investment. Now, obviously, I'm not talking to people who have 12 pins. They've already figured this out a long time ago. I'm talking to you, the listener, who might be like, what is it like actually trying to build a collection in your home and not, hate it or hate yourself or make sure that you're curating a games list that actually works for you. But yeah, Bond has become a much more cherished part of my collection the more games I have incorporated into my collection. And especially with games surrounding it that require larger time investments. I hear a lot of podcasters, not real people, but podcasters, talk about the games they enjoy versus the games they don't, and they always seem to come down to one side of the argument or the other, i.e., Quick playing games with attenuated rule sets versus immersive games which have very deep rule sets. And I'm going to say that you probably will land on one side of that line with what you actually fully enjoy, like what really draws you into pinball. But I think, speaking at least for myself, I can enjoy games on both sides of the line. It's just a matter of figuring out what you primarily enjoy playing versus what you only need a little bit of, right? It's the meat versus the seasoning. For me, the meal is really those deep rule set games. Like Ghostbusters is perfect, Shadow is perfect, Jaws is perfect. Those are games that I can really sink my teeth into. But every once in a while, you want something with a little bit more, a little bit extra on it. And Bond is perfect for that, because in my collection it's big enough now where I can play a game like Bond, once, twice, 3 times a week. It'll call me back, and I'll want to play it long enough that I actually blow it up and learn something new. That's the best part of pinball, right? Learning something new on a table. And then, of course, I'll walk off, and I won't really want to touch it again for the rest of the week. But that's fine, because I have other games to play. I'm very blessed in that way. Anyways, next week, not next week, but the week after next week, the next podcast, I am finally getting a co-host. I know that's probably music to your ears. Listening to me drone on and on about these topics is probably got to be something that's like, okay, like, he's a pretty decent guy, but I kind of wonder about him, and have a second person there in the room might make us all feel safer. I appreciate for your concern. But yeah, I have a co-host come and join me. I think he's someone that's really going to add a whole lot of flavor to this show. Someone actually, with their sleeves rolled up and getting their hands dirty in the pinball community. I can't wait to bring him on the show. He's a really good friend. I love him dearly, and I can't wait to start having these conversations together in front of you lovely people. So that is all from the Pinball Underground. I'm Lawrence Adams. This is the Midlife Arcade. I hope you had a happy Mother's Day. May all your scores be high, and may all your balls be extra. I'll see you next time.